right, everybody, we're back for another one. This time around, we're going to start working on the cylinder for the little PM Research number 3 steam engine. Stick around for some action. Okay, here we go. Up here, we got to have 1.125 outside to outside. So we go down here, take a measurement, and we are at 1.290. So we do a little math down here. 1.290 minus 1.125 gives us 0.165, 165 thousandths. So we got to take a little off of each side. So we're going to take 165, divide that by 2, and gives us 0.0825, or 82 and a half thousandths. So that tells us essentially what our first cuts are going to be. Let's get her in the vise and get started. Okay, we're clamped in the mill, and here's the setup. Got a V-block back here. Here's our part. And I lined it up with this parting line here because that's about as good as what we got. I just set the speed square on there with the parting line, moved it back and forth till I liked the way it was aligned. Got us a 3/4 inch end mill in here, and we've already touched off. So let me get you on the tripod. Well, before I get you on the tripod, it was brought up in the last time I did a video in the mill that I didn't show what was going on down here on the dial. So let me show you what's happening. I don't want to take that full 82 and a half in one cut, so let's see if we can do 50. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, or close enough to 50. Now I can get you on the tripod. Okay. Let's see if we can make a cut on this. There's one cut. See if I can get us up to the 82 mark. 10, 20, 30. That puts us at 80, 1, 2. Do the same thing over again. All right, we should be at the right height. Now we need to line up and do our bore. So I made up this little plug on the lathe. It's exactly 1 inch. And we're just going to do a visual lineup on this 1 inch outer diameter of this casting. And really, that's all it took. I'm just kind of doing a little feel, and it feels good. So visually, that's as good as we're possibly going to get. Now I put a 7/16 end mill in here, because if we go back to the drawing specifying 500 thousandths bore, which is 1/2 inch. 7/16 is our next smallest end mill. The reason why I chose to do this with an end mill is our core wasn't exactly lined up, and we tried to use a drill. That drill could lead off and follow what the core is. where the end mill doesn't care, and it's going to follow where I've set it on the mill exactly true. It looks like it's pretty close, but not exactly perfect, and that's just my eye. So I think this is the right course of action for us. We'll go ahead and pop this hole through it, and then once our hole is true, then we can come in with a drill and open that up. And we're through. Let's see if we can open it up with a drill now and see what happens. And we're through. Okay, everybody, let's go for it. Got a 1/2 inch reamer in here. Let's see what happens. And we are through. Zoom you in there a little bit. There's our reamed hole. Okay, back at the drawing. We need to put this bolt pattern in, which is exactly the same as the bolt pattern we put in the main casting or engine bed that we did in the last video. So I think what we'll do is I'll just show you the first hole, and I'll finish it out from there. It's calling for a 38 drill, and we need to go 3/8 deep. So let's get that set up and get moving. We will start with a center drill. So we need to move exactly 3/8 or 375. So we have our dial zeroed out. There's 100. Bring us back to 0, gives us 200. $300, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 5. 375. And I lock the table so it doesn't move. Okay. Let's put a spot on there. That's all we needed. So you ask, how do we know we're going to get exactly 3/8 deep as per what the drawing called out for us? So I set a stop here on the quill. You can see that's it. That's all the further we go down. All right. With that set, now we come down here to our dial. We're zeroed out. So we need to go 375. $100, $200, $300, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 5. So now we know that we're going to go exactly 375 deep. I sped our drill up. We're bottomed out, and there's our hole ready for tapping. Got our tap in there now with some Molly D on it. I got the mill out of gear. We're just going to run it in real gentle. Fortunately, this is a new tap and it's good and sharp. That'll help us. It is a 540 as the drawing called out. I can see some threads starting to form and there's some chips on the tap. Don't want to force anything here. It does take a lot of patience for this kind of work. You can see we got chips on the tap. Clean them flutes out. I say we call it good there before we break something. All right, to get to the math or locations of these other two holes, we'll go off of the math from the last video. And we know that we're offset 265 from the center line in both X and Y directions. So just wanted to cover that real quick. I'm going to do all the moving, drilling, and tapping off camera. Just wanted to make a note of that so you knew what was going on. If you need to see the math, go back to the last video, which was episode 2. Okay, we got our little bolt hole pattern in there. We're lined up back in the center of this bore. And if we go to the drawing, we sure do refer to the drawing a lot, don't we? We need to put a hole 3/4 from the center line of this bore. So unlock the table. And here we go. 100, 700, 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Get us a little starter hole there. That'll get us started. Back at the drawing, it's calling for a 5/32 drill through. I already got our 5/32 in there. Trying to take it easy. Brass bronze likes to grab onto your tools and just suck them right in. Trying to keep these chips cleared out so the drill doesn't bind on them and break. And we're through. Okay, our next step, according to the drawing, is to open this little hole up to 15/64, 1 inch deep. So I've already touched the drill off. And we come back down to our handle. Hopefully you can see that. $100, $900, and 1 inch. There we go. I think we're spinning a little slow there, but we made it work. Last thing to do here is ream it down to 1/4 inch, 1 inch deep, and we'll just go up against that ledge we had left over from the drill. And now we got a bore for our valve. All right, that's as far as we can go in this setup. Pop it loose and see what we got. You see down in there where we stopped, there's a little bolt pattern. I think I'm going to do a little bit of deburr action. And there we go. Just as a little break here, I thought it'd be fun to put our cylinder on and see how well our bolt pattern lined up, and it looks just about perfect to me. Here's our little flywheel. So far, it's been a pretty fun project. All right, better get back on it. All righty, we're back at it. I got our casting back in the vise. We flipped it 180 degrees. We're ready to deck off this other side. I threw in a 3/4 end mill. I've touched off. And just like the last time, we need to raise up 50 thousandths for our first cut. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Contact! Now let's go up another 32. 10, 20, 30, and 2. Make another round. There we are, we're decked off. Back to our drawing once again. Get you lined up on here. We need to put in this bolt pattern here. It's just the same as the other side, 540 tap, number 38 drill. We got 4 holes, 3/8 deep on a 3/4 inch bolt circle. So what we got to do is find the center of this again. Okay, there's a couple ways we could line up. We could throw an indicator on it. We could put the coaxial indicator in. But I'm choosing to just do a visual because really that's all we need here. We just want this to line up and look nice. So I put our plug back in that we used on the other side. And we got a real good feel of it lining up. I'm happy with it. We're going to call that the center. So just like before, we need to shift 265 in X and 265 in Y. Okay, everybody. Watch along. Count out with me. 100. Coming up on 0. 200. 10. 20. 30. 40. 50. 60. 1, 2, 3, 4. 265. 100. 200. 10. 20. 30. 40. 50. 60 and 5. Table is locked. Let's put a dimple in it. All right, I got our stop set, and we need to raise the table 375, just like before. 70 and 5. Let's put a hole in it. And now we tap. Keep those chips cleared away. First hole is tapped. I'll go ahead and do the other 3 off camera, make things go a little faster. It's just rinse and repeat. Okay, back at the drawing. We have these 4 holes done. This other hole is going to be a little tricky, and it's done at an angle, so we can't do that in this setup. This last hole over here, we can't really do that at this point. It's calling for a 3/16 40 tap, and I may forego that. I may use a number 1032 in its place. We'll see, but that can wait for later. That's just an exhaust. So we're ready to pop it out of this setup. Here's our little bolt pattern. So we need to put an inlet here and drill and tap some holes here. And then we got ports to drill at the funny angle I just mentioned. All right, everybody, back to the drawing like usual. All right, we need to pop this hole in it right here. It tells us 5/32 drill. It's saying 3/16 40 for tap. We're going to forego that at this point because I may do something different there. To be determined. We'll just leave that step out for the time being. So here's the setup. Went ahead and put 2 screws in these holes here that we already tapped, and that's going to make us as parallel as we can possibly get, so we can make this flat here. We're locked down in the vise nice and tight, and like I've done several times before on this build, we're just lining up visually. Looks like we're pretty good. Let's just do a quick spot face on it to make it look nice. That's all we needed to do. I switched this out to a center drill so we can put a little spot in there, or a little dimple. We got our dimple. Our 5/32 is in, and we just want to break through to the cavity that we drilled and reamed to 1/4 inch. I sped the drill up. Let's do it. That's all we needed to do for that step. Access holes and start on the ports. So similar to before, I just used these little screws here for our alignment. We're in the vise. But before we can get started, if you can tell it or not, there's a gate here from the casting. We need to knock that gate down. So we're just going to take an end mill and go in there and slowly go back and forth on it until it decks it off nice and smooth and looks good for us. To get our side to side line up like before, I'm cheating a little bit and just using a 1/4 inch end mill. Visually that looks good. All right, we got our edge finder in here. We need to come in here and touch the back side of it and find our edge. And so we found our edge here, and I did it 3 times so I could verify on the dial that it was a repeat, and it was. Back to the drawing. We know we're 1 inch 125 wide and from the center line, we need to back off 187 thousandths. So we did a little bit of math here. Half of 1.125, it's 9/16, or 5/625. Subtract 187 from that, we get 375. But we need to add in half the width of the edge finder, which is 100. So from here, where we're at, we need to move in 475. Let's do us a little sanity check and see where we're at. Looks good. All right, by now you know the drill. We're going to come in here and put us a little dimple. We're switched out to a 3/32 drill. So look at the drawing here. 3/32 drill. We need to go 11/16 deep. 11/16 should be 687. Okay, so we need to lift the table 687. 80, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we got to be pretty careful here because we don't want to break into the cylinder, because I know it's happened before. So we have a stop set so we can't go too deep. Let's drill. Okay, we just broke into the port, or the valve port. Now we got to keep going. And we're up against our stop. Now I've switched this out to our tap drill size, which is just very slightly bigger. So let's get it done. All right, we're opened up to tap size now. Okay, I got it switched out to our tap. All right, we got us a hole. Per the drawing, we need another hole. Exactly 375 over from the one we have. So I'll move it over and get that done off camera. All right, there's our little port holes tapped in there. Let's go ahead and pop it out of there. Now we're on to the scariest part of this whole entire build, or at least what I think will be the scariest part. We've got to drill a hole at an angle and meet up in space in here with these ports without going too far and getting into the opposite port. That would be bad. It's going to be a little nerve-wracking. Okay, we're on to the scary part. So here we are. We got to drill this passageway here. The drawing tells us we need to be at 20 degrees. So here's the setup. Similar to before, I use these two screws as our lineup. And this will put us perpendicular to the vise. And down in here, if you can see it, there's a 20-degree angle block, and that set our angle for us. So next thing we need to do, pop these screws out of the way. Bring our little pointer down. Get lined up on this edge. And that looks pretty good right there. I don't think we'll be able to get much closer by eye, but I don't know a better way of indicating it either. I guess that makes me a non-master machinist. Back at the drawing once again. It's telling us we need to move over 47 thousandths and then put in a 5/32 counter bore and go 3/32 deep. It's telling us to do that on both sides. After the 5/32 counter bore, then we're going to drill 3/32 7/16 deep. Well, I don't have a 5/32 end mill, so I jumped us up one size to a 3/16. I don't think that's going to make a big difference. It's only 30 thousandths bigger, 15 thousandths a side. So we should be okay there. Now, it wants us to go 3/32 deep, which is 94 thousandths. So by eye, I'm going to come down and start our counter bore. Who besides me just spotted the problem? I got the angle going the wrong direction. That ain't good. We would have drilled right into the bore instead of to the port. Oops. Start over. Okay, crisis averted. All we had to do is flip it the other way, touch off again, and move over our 47 thousandths. Wasn't that big a deal. It's just good we caught it ahead of time. Now, here's what we need to do. We need to plunge in with the quill until I got a nice circle all cleaned up. And at that point, it's going to establish our 0. I'm going to lock the quill and then raise the table 94 thousandths, or the 3/32. Let's give it a shot. Okay, we can see we got a real nice looking full radius there. Let's go ahead and drop our tool down. Lock our quill. Kick it on, and we'll switch over to the table. And so what we did here was a couple things. One, we made a nice flat spot for our center drill to hit and make a mark. And we also broke through the cylinder wall, creating a port for the steam, or probably in our case air, to get to this side of the piston. Okay, since I did go with a bigger diameter end mill, I did stop a little bit early so as to not make this port too big and go too far into the cylinder. Okay, our spot drill, our center drill's in. Let's go put a little spot in it. That should be sufficient. I got our 3/32 drill in here. And I've set the quill stop so we can only go 7/16 deep. And that's so I don't accidentally go too far, just in case I don't feel it breaking through. Let's drill it. And just like that, I'm pretty sure I felt it break through. Now, and I'll flip it over and do the same on the other side, rinse and repeat. And that just about finishes out this part. Okay, I need to cut in here and give you a little note. Our bolt pattern's different on this side, so I don't have anything parallel perpendicular to line up with. So I did a little hack here. Our two jaws are the same thickness, and our valve bore is perfectly centered. So I lined up with the calipers just about like that. And that got us by far as close as we're going to get. I just wanted to make that note, and I'll go ahead and jump off here and get this done real fast. Alrighty, we got our hole popped in there. I felt it blow through. So we're ready to take this guy out. There we have it. Got the flashlight there. And you can see where the light comes through. And you can see I'm all the way back here with the light. So it's not coming through that valve hole. And same on the other side. There we go. For me, that was probably the scariest part of the whole build. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for this one. We got our cylinder machined. Well, come back for more, for some shop time with Dave. You never know what I'm going to get into. Stay tuned for the next episode of the PM Research number 3 engine. Take care now. Bye.